So much about your dating life is unfair, which might be why reality TV scratches some kind of itch in us, because we see a playing field that seems fair with rules that are understandable. And a show like Love Island admits something that other people won't, that dating is often played like a game for people. It's been a really bad week for reality TV relationships, from The Bachelor to Love is Blind. Juliana and Grant have ended their engagement. Ashley and Tyler are filing for divorce. These are Bachelor and Love is Blind couples. And what is going to be said about these relationships, or what could be said about, say, your failed relationship, is that this was an individual problem. And is that true? Yes, they left the show. They're individual, human, real people, and it just didn't work out. But what do we tolerate in the rules for love, or in the rules for our entertainment about love? It comes down to two factors, and it's these concepts of innocence and informed or insufficient consent. There was a time where no one would expect you to take any kind of real warning about your own relationship from reality TV. But that's changed, because now there's an entire media ecosystem that's propped up around these franchises that influences ideas about dating and your relationship, whether you like it or not, or whether you watch these shows or not. Let's take Love Island season 7. There's a significant voting component to the show, and this ranking of the relationships that is deeply embedded in the construction of the show and the game itself. And oh my gosh, it has so many more episodes than other shows of this genre. The construction of this media is designed to spark conversation and controversy, because everyone, including the people inside the villa, are ranking the couples. You're ranking them by quality, and you're ranking them by motives of all involved. And here's a key thing. There are about 19 combined seasons between the Love Island USA version and the Love Island UK version. So plenty of time for the contestants to get an idea of how the game is structured. So we feel less sorry for modern day contestants of reality shows than, say, people who were just getting into this in the 1940s and the 1950s, when TV consoles became more affordable for the mainstream and soon everybody had them. That matters because there's more people participating in this form of mass media, as opposed to a newspaper, which has a different way of influencing people than the television did. And listen, the contempt for trash TV or trash entertainment, it's not new. In the late 1940s and 50s, people felt the same way about these shows. There was a sharper sense that this was cruel, because there was this idea that there was insufficient consent with those involved. These people on camera did not fully grasp what they were consenting to, what was going to happen to them, right? They might have not even owned a TV themselves. They were part of an emerging media that, yes, had this reality component to it, but up until that point had been on the radio, which at least gave them a sense of anonymity. When franchises like The Bachelor came on in 2002, you were consenting at least to what you figured was going to be your 15 minutes to 15 months of fame. Today, if you play your cards right, you can get an entire lifetime of an advertising and marketing career out of being on a show like Love is Blind or Love Island. People go on the show to be seen and to be consumed. They are providing consent for that. This can make us less sympathetic to the moves production pulls that negatively affect the contestants, because we're like, look, you knew what you were getting involved with. You took this risk because you saw a business investment. Now, to give sufficient consent to something, you have to have information. But what does reality television rely on? Drama. And how do you get drama? Through asymmetric distribution of information. Producers can know stuff, but you as the contestant can't. How do you think they pit contestants against each other? How do you think they add drama by introducing new bombshells to the villa at various moments that no one can expect? Information trickled out slowly gives that will they, won't they factor. And we ate that up on Love is Blind when we were wondering if Ashley was indeed going to marry Tyler. We were all sat for that. The drama over what Ashley knew versus what Tyler knew prior to them getting up to the altar is what made that scene so tense. It's what made anybody watching any of the wedding episodes go, I'm sticking around for this whole thing. Now, as an audience, we can give contestants a certain benefit of the doubt that they can erode over time. Ashley just announced that she is separating from Tyler. She's pursuing a divorce, and she is working with a lot less sympathy than she had at the beginning. She has way less sympathy than the black women do on Love Island. That's because we think of her as slightly older, as someone who was consenting in terms of she knew some information about Tyler's children. She had an idea of the fact that she was going to have to get up at the altar at the end. She's presumed to be less innocent, and so we think you're less likely to be taken advantage of. But for all Ashley's missteps about what she chose to do after she found out that he had children, she had a reasonable belief that maybe production would have thought about casting somebody who was involved in active legal civil cases. But who gets to be innocent in a storyline, especially in a storyline on national television? And does that in any way affect how we critique or look at the actions productions and producers take to make an entertaining story? I think it should, because our threshold for what kind of pain and suffering we are willing to watch in our entertainment is intrinsically bound up in what we think particular people are owed and what they deserve. Now, I will say, for decades, what production has done to women on The Bachelor, or even in recent times, Love is Blind, it's not varied all that much. But who they do that to, who they protect, that has. If a woman is billed as a villain, or she's seen as slutty, not wholesome, too fast, production's antics look more like a consequence of her decisions than independent action that they decided to take to move the story along. Now, we've discussed how Love Island and The Bachelor and all these places can be a place for mass media to shift what is acceptable, to change what the dating pool might look like for Black women or women from other backgrounds. But it's also critical that we look at what they are asking women to consent to. That's where understanding media literacy and the history that made these shows in the first place comes in. Long before Chris Harrison was canceled for his sins on Bachelor, there was Alan Funt. He was the creator of the controversial and also beloved Candid microphone and then Candid camera. He was eviscerated for his production tactics and his lack of informed consent on the show. That critique would soften when he worked with children, because people thought the kids had less pride to lose, and so their innocence actually made the pranks not seem so cruel. But it's actually the inverse for Black women or women of color who go on reality TV. There's a risk that if you go on these shows to partake in the power that reality TV can give you when you leave the show, that these gendered and racialized ideas of innocence and what an innocent person looks like can blow up in your face. There's not much sympathy for women who choose to have a public relationship in the entertainment world to make money. Audiences think, good women, real innocent women, don't go on TV to find their husband. But the economy of reality TV today has made it such that you can endure a couple crazy months and then rebrand as a traditional stay-at-home mom who's set for life. There is some overlap in reality TV relationship games and modern dating in that people are trying to maximize every relationship for either another relationship that's coming down the pike or to get everything they want out of this one. If it doesn't work out, you take your new social status and you find someone else in an even higher pool. These shows, in a way, are playing a courtship game that is older by centuries than the reality TV programming itself. Maybe part of the American dream is that anybody can become TV royalty. So we find the women who angle for what they want, who play by the rules or break the rules, are still judged for going after the things that they want. It's fun to parse through shows like this and see, what does it tell us about who we are and what we value? And if you find that interesting, I would encourage you to read the book Cue the Sun by Emily Nussbaum. I have not been able to put that book down, and it's about the history and the invention of reality TV and the way it preys and plays on the things that have always been here with us. I'm now about to go watch episode 12 of Love Island USA and get into the different politics of dating that we are seeing in that show. If you're watching it, let me know. If you're not watching it and you're just here for the videos, also let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts.